All right. Well, you're good. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody. I'm Joseph Bradford. I'm the executive editor over at MMORPG.com. I actually don't think I've ever used that title. I usually use managing editor, but whatever. Over at MMORPG.com, and I'm here with two of the developers on Neverwinter. We've got Brett Norton, the executive producer.
Howdy, I'm Brett.
And we've got Misa Gaines, the lead project manager over at Cryptic Studios.
Hi. Hello, everybody.
And you may have noticed we're in kind of a dark-ish area. We are playing the new Menzoberranzan content update. We're going to go ahead and start it out, doing the intro quest and everything like that, and kind of get going for the next hour. In the meantime, some of you might have caught the social media posts and everything like that from us, and I believe possibly even Neverwinter, about a giveaway. We've got 3 sweepstakes running on our main page right now over at MMORPG.com, one for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation players. Effectively, we got about 500 codes in between the 3 platforms, 200 PC, 150 for each console, that gives away a cloak that, from what I was being told before we started streaming, was a exclusive item that can only be gotten via a key. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a cloak that we it's one of our exclusive key-based promotions that you can only get them from these type of giveaways, either from a stream or from wherever we give them out. And this time we're giving them out via MMORPG.com.
Yeah, so if you head over to the site, you'll need to sign up for the sweepstakes. Effectively, you'll need an account with our site. That's how we get you. And by the end of the stream, the sweepstakes will run for about another 30 minutes, and then I will be manually going in and ending the sweepstakes and start sending out the keys. So whatever email you use to sign up for our site for your account will be sent the code, and then it'll give the redemption instructions and everything like that to get you wearing it within the next couple hours. Yeah, so for those who might not be... I can't use my my cool little mount. That's awesome. That is an awesome chair, by the way.
That was from Dragon Slayer. That was from our last anniversary. Our 10th anniversary of Neverwinter will be coming up here this summer, and we've got some great event activities planned for that, some new rewards and everything, and some surprises since it is the 10th anniversary that I don't want to spoil just yet, but stay tuned for more on that.
Awesome.
But they're awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty insane. It's been 10 years. I remember when this first launched, I started playing, back obviously in 2013, and being just kind of blown away by Neverwinter specifically, as it was one of those locations. I think I mentioned this in the last stream. We were doing a Dungeons and Dragons run through with some friends of mine, and I was using Neverwinter, specifically your guys' portrayal of Lord Neverember, as kind of like the influence for the way I portrayed them in our campaign. And I was hearkening back to those first early days exploring Protector's Enclave and everything like that. So it's crazy that it's already coming up on 10 years.
Yep. And Lord Neverember made an appearance in the recent Dungeons and Dragons movie, Honor Among Thieves.
That's a great movie if you haven't seen it, by the way.
We actually saw it as a studio. It's fantastic. We were
nice.
Very pleased.
Nice. So for those who might not be as familiar with the current update, can you guys kind of explain a little bit about what Menzoberranzan is and kind of the broader strokes as to how it fits in with the current Neverwinter modules?
Sure. Menzoberranzan is our 25th module for Neverwinter, and it's sort of a follow-up to our previous module, Module 24 of the North Dark Reaches, which started a new campaign storyline, which was penned in part with R.A. Salvatore, who's the creator of the Drizzt character, and the whole series of books around the Companions of the Hall and many other books that sort of define a lot of the lore of the Forgotten Realms. He's sort of one of the, father of the Forgotten Realms. To that extent, he didn't create it specifically, but he popularized many of its characters, settings, and locations through his many, many novels. And working with him, we wanted to go back to the Underdark and do some new campaigns through the Underdark, since we didn't actually have a whole lot of adventure zones. As a result, we're here now in Menzoberranzan, following up on the story a bit from what happened in North Dark Reaches. And don't worry, you can go straight to Menzo if you want to. You can bypass North Dark Reaches. But we're being summoned by Jaraxxle, who's the head of a band of mercenaries known as Break into Earth. And as you meet up with him and travel with him to Menzoberranzan, you discover that the city is in a state of significant unrest, and foul things are brewing in Menzoberranzan, which are explored in Module 25, as well as in R.A. Salvatore's upcoming book in the current trilogy he's writing. This module is set between his two books, and we actually collaborated with him, and he incorporated a number of the ideas and plot points that are written for Module 25 into the third book.
That's awesome. I remember when we played through the beginnings of North Dark Reaches, just kind of geeking out a little bit about playing through some content that one of my favorite writers wrote. And now I'm kind of having a geek out moment where I'm standing in front of Jarlaxle, who's one of my favorite characters in all of, fantasy literature. And
he's great. I love his voice actor personally too. I think he portrays the part very well. I always imagine him as a smug brigand a little bit.
Awesome. So. I'm gonna go ahead and press F real quick and talk to him and geek out silently for real quick.
Hail and well met.
Okay, this is not how I expected him to sound, but this is like perfect somehow.
That's what the last person said too.
You are here to save the city, of course. Unfortunately,
the campaign we were running, we were doing Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and one of the villains you can choose as the DM is Jarlaxle, so of course I played him. And there was a moment where my partner sitting behind me, she was one of the player characters in the campaign, and the minute Jarlaxle makes his appearance and kind of ruins the party's plans, I literally heard her she was channeling Star Trek, where Picard yells Khan. She was doing Jarlaxle.
Oh my god,
it was great. In fact, I think that's still her pinned tweet on her account, on her Twitter account. It's just Jarlaxle in all caps. She's still angry about that. I get crap all the time.
Of the starless sky, and by they, I of course mean I. It is a dangerous, rarely trod road into Menzoberranzan, and it will take us there without anyone knowing when you're entering. There are many ways into the city, but this is the only way I am certain is secure. It will take us to a secret hideout, where I have some friends you should meet as well. Knowledge is power, they say, and in Menzoberranzan that is triply true. Better that only I know.
Like it has all of the haughty nature I would expect his voice to have, while also you can easily hear him being snarky and noble if he needs to be as well.
He's a very complicated character, but great for that. One of the things I appreciate about how R.A. Salvatore writes is that, a number of his characters are, not just single-faceted. Druid and a few of the other ones are obviously sort of classical good guys, but he's got a lot of mid-characters that are, that supporting characters especially that are not like pure evil or whatnot, or so it's not just black and white. Yeah, and Dracula's one of those sort of gray area characters.
Yeah, I love him. The first time he was introduced in one of the novels, I've been infatuated with that character ever since. I don't know if infatuated is the right word, but it's what I'm using.
No, he's a really good character though. Like, he's super interesting. He's got a lot of like tricks and things that he does, so it's super fun.
So this is the first time Menzoberranzan has been available in Neverwinter, correct?
Yes. In fact, we've only done a limited amount of overall Underdark. We had a couple of modules back. Actually, R.A. Salvatore helped contribute way back when everyone was very young. He was like module 8 or so. Mm-hmm. But we haven't really had a big adventure zone that you could run around in like Menzoberranzan in the North Dark region, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to come back and do it, since we've done some what we call adventures now in Underdark, but we had not done a true sort of campaign in Adventure Zone.
Yeah, and from what I understand, this is one of the first real depictions, like, in 3D of Menzoberranzan, right? Because there's not that much, like, not that many, it's not depicted in that many media formats. It's often used in books, but, like...
Yeah, lots of book references. They've done a couple of short, like, videos. There's an excellent animated short trailer called Sleep Sound that WotC did for Rondres, and it has some shots of Menzoberranzan in it. And there's been some older games that had Menzoberranzan, like very early sort of older games that had Menzoberranzan depicted in it, but not a whole lot of modern stuff. And so we actually had to work with them to establish things like the Narbundel, which is referenced a lot, did not have official concept art for us to leverage.
And here's one of our major Vista points, and you can actually see the Narbundel from up here.
I always pictured it as more of like an obelisk. In my head, so this is a really cool rendering of it. This is cool.
I'm glad. Our environment artists would love to hear that. They spent a lot of time working on this.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of whether or not this was in Baldur's Gate 2, and I don't think it was. I know you can go to the Underdark in Baldur's Gate 2, but this might be the first time I'm seeing it in a game. It's always just been in my own head.
There was a very old game called Menzoberranzan. It was an old
really?
D&D like CRPG that could be there, but this was like, let's say early 90s. I don't think it was 3D. I think it was like a dungeon crawler kind of game. But we're talking again like
Hey, Tim.
30 years ago now at this point. So
So what was it like kind of building this as a studio? I mean, obviously you guys are fans of D&D and the worlds that D&D encompasses, but I think Menzoberranzan has a special place in a lot of D&D fans' hearts, especially my generation growing up with the R.A. Salvatore books and stuff.
I mean, that's part of the coolest part of working on this, right? Like, we got to work with R.A. Salvatore and his son Gino Salvatore. It was incredibly fun, and it was like, for me as a fangirl of I grew up on those books too.
Sure.
Being in the same room as R.A. Salvatore was like, it was hard for me to not like have a big old grin on my face. Like, do I need to turn my camera off?
Sure.
Like, it was hard not to fangirl out over New York Times best-selling D&D author in the room with me.
yeah,
That was a lot of fun.
big nice thing for the team, and hopefully as well as the fans. A lot of the people on the team are fans of R.A. Salvatore. Some of them worked with him the first time that the project came around, which is actually one of the reasons why we wanted to do it, because they said, it's like, hey, we're going back, we should talk to R.A. Salvatore. He apparently really enjoyed it the last time, many years back, working on Neverwinter, and he might be willing to do it again. And we talked to him, and he was like, yeah, let's work something out, and was willing to jump on board, and so it worked out really well. And again, I too, the Dark Elf trilogy as well as the Icewind Dale trilogy were some of the first D&D books I read alongside some of the old Dragonlance novels, and it definitely, like I said, it set the tone for a lot of what the Forgotten Realms is. The whole Sword Coast part of the Forgotten Realms and everything was popularized large in part thanks to R.A. Salvatore's work. We kind of look at the Forgotten Realms as really almost the Sword Coast plus a few other areas like Cholton and whatnot, but a lot of that Forgotten Realms comes from R.A. Salvatore.
All right, well, for those of you who are just joining us, we're here playing with the developers on Neverwinter, but we also have giveaways going on the website right now. If you go to MMORPG.com, the main page, you'll see 3 major sweepstakes that you can enter. One for PlayStation, one for PC, and one for Xbox. Those will give you a free cosmetic key that will give you a cloak that, from what I understand, is exclusive. And this is the first time that you guys are giving this particular item away. So little thank you for coming and hanging out with us today. So we're just kind of moseying our way through the Underdark, heading towards, I assume, Menzoberranzan right now. We're going to pronounce it like 7 different times.
Taking a bit of a secret back entrance.
Yeah.
Those of you who maybe didn't hear, couldn't see the text, Daraxel is basically trying to sneak you in unnoticed to Menzoberranzan, and so we are taking a less than friendly back route in.
Less than friendly is putting this mildly.
Yeah. There's a lot of treacherous places in the Underdark, and this is one of them.
So, with your guys' depiction of the Underdark, it seems like it's more lit than it was when I read about it. Is that something that is just a conceit because you guys are making a video game, or is there something that was written down that talks about all those different light sources and stuff that you see in the Underdark specifically?
A little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. We knew that, going into it, to the level of lighting that we would want to portray would be something that players would want to be able to see. Like, if we lit it as a very, very dark cavern with minimal light sources, relying on things like night vision, it wouldn't sort of portray how even some of the characters that live there, like the Drow and a lot of the creatures that dwell there, see the world differently thanks to things like night vision, dark vision, etc., or other forms of sense relocation. So we knew what we wanted to portray it in a more eye-pleasing fashion, but at the same time, there was some official reference. In WotC, we talked about, like, hey, how do we depict things? How do you depict, like, the Fares, I'm pronouncing it terribly, unfortunately, and some of the light sources within Menzo itself, and we talked to them about how they portrayed it and kind of what they expect, and make sure that we align with the rough visions on it. Some of the interstitial areas, like these caverns and whatnot, likely would have been darker, But surprisingly, gamers don't take too kindly when you make things dark. They always want to turn the gamma up, so it's best not to sort of fight against player expectations in that regard.
Yeah, it's kind of like a two-factor thing, right? You're not. So when you're playing, you are not playing most of the time not in first-person shooter or shooter mode, right? So you're not really looking out of your character's eyes. If you were, they maybe they have dark vision. But like just like when you went into, I don't know if you saw. I think we brought it up. The D&D movie. They went into the Underdark for a bit. They didn't have. It wasn't incredibly dark. You don't want. Just like in a movie, in a game, you don't really want it to go super. I hate it when the screen goes so dark you can't see and you're like struggling. So we want to show that it's dark in here, like it's not light. We don't want it to be like your screen is greatly impacted. So it's kind of like how do we depict a dark scene that you can still see.
Yeah, I think the stylistic choices you guys have made here work really well. Because I know for myself, I don't want to be playing in a super dark spot. But I think this might be one of the few locations in like fantasy that I would be okay with it being dark just because it's supposed to be. But I know I'm probably also in the minority there, you know? You're not making games specifically for me, you're making it for the masses, obviously, so.
Yeah. I previously worked on
like, yeah, we're not making them for you. We're making it for the masses.
Yeah.
Worked on the Fear series many years back, and that game had some very deliberate lighting choices. It was intended to be very dark in some places, and some players loved it, and other players, still would crank the gamma up as high as possible so they could see everything even in the dark.
Yeah. That takes me back to the Fear series. Wow. All right, we're still following Jarlaxle, which is an amazing sentence to say.
Here we go. Now we're going to travel to the Whispering Post, one of the many hubs that the Brigand Earth use around Menzoberranzan. The lore fans, the Whispering Post is a small hidden Brigand Earth base located on the Claw Rift, which is a rather large sort of rift along the side, one of the sides of Menzoberranzan, and it turns out to be a great place to stash a mercenary base.
Cool. Is there someone specific I should speak to? I guess I could read I guess up here with his awesome looking hat.
Yeah, there's a bit of a
his hat. His hat is
intro text
accessible in the game. You too could wear a hat similar to Jarlaxle's. It's not exactly his hat; it's slightly different, but it's close.
Yeah.
And here we are at last.
WotC is very much in favor of giving players the ability to have fashion items that are reminiscent and inspired by the major characters, but they actually don't want us to give the exact copies of them. They're like, no, cool. You can give things that are obviously like very similar to their outfits, but just don't make it one-to-one, because we want to try to preserve the character's likeness and uniqueness.
Sure. So I'm assuming I won't get like gauntlets that have infinite daggers and stuff in it.
Not exactly. But that's a cool idea. We should actually think about giving out some of Jaraxle's many artifacts as items in the game.
We have definitely looked into his artifacts as things that we can give out. You can actually get him as a companion as well, and he can use his whole suite of artifacts with you.
That's awesome. So
he's got one of his powers for his so he's got his standard, I'm Jarlaxle and I'm flashy with my flourish, my rapier, but he's also got some really cool powers based off his appearances in the book. So he's got one of his is a wand of webs, and so he'll use his wand of webs, and the other one he actually has his illusory fireball.
That's awesome.
What do you need, soldier?
All right, so it looks like we got 3 different quests to choose from. I'm assuming we need to complete all 3 at some point.
Yep. They'll after you talk to the NPCs, they'll direct you to the Brayrin district in Menzoberranzan. So you'll need to go to one of the exits and bring up the map and travel the Brayrin district. And we'll get a chance to look at Menzoberranzan on the inside.
Yeah, I just got it, the cold-blooded quest. Alrighty. There is the door. I forgot
My
I
mount
had
not
that
as cool as yours, Brett. I'm just gonna chill on my Shadow Wolf.
I changed it earlier. Oh yeah, I wanted to change it to our April Fowls event mount.
Did you do the Goose event on your dev character so you can have it for the stream?
No, I just cheated. I have it on my live character.
Or you cheated?
But I did do it on my live character. So.
Ooh, Hudson.
This goose is a funny story, actually, for all of our viewers here. We got this idea when we were at a cryptic event last summer, and a goose decided to harass some of our folks, and we're like, we should make this into a mount.
Yeah. We already had the April Fowls event, and we've been talking. The April Fowls event is our April Fool's Day event. It is very chicken themed, hence the April Fowls. But we're like, hey, goose count as fowls, right? They're waterfowl, so they're fair game for April Fowls.
I love just that waddle, how it runs.
Oh yeah, its run cycle is pretty hilarious.
That is great.
It is intended to be a sort of fun little, April Fool's mount. So we were like, we just need to kind of make this a little zany.
We tried to do a collaboration with the Goose Game folks, but it was we were unable to pull it off. So
Oh
sadness.
man, that would have been awesome.
I know.
It's those little stories that no one ever hears about that are just, so interesting when we get to talk to, the people behind these games, because I would never have thought of Neverwinter and Goose, that specific game, as a crossover, but it makes total sense after seeing this mount.
Oh. Well, we're just following you, so go ahead and head towards your quest,
perfect.
and we'll back you up.
I'm too busy just looking at both the goose and the city around me, because this is okay, I don't know.
Yeah. If you want to get the tour, just head up the main road for a bit, and I'll warn you, if you see any huge dryaders starting down the streets, avoid those patrols. Those are not something we can actually kill with only 3 people.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember reading the patch notes and stuff, and you guys talking about in there that you have to kind of sneak your way around here a little bit too.
Yeah, this district is currently in lockdown, which means that there are house driders that patrol the streets, and they are very strong and very powerful. And they take up around 10 people or so generally to take down. So it's not
It was a lot of
that's
deaths last time we engaged one.
We did get one down, and with the recent patch, we made some slight tweaks to make them make some of their powers a little more interesting to play against. They were very challenging.
Now we're at the rich people district with the nice wars.
Yeah, we have moved into the Duthcloyne district, and so Menzoberranzan is a city of inequality. It's not one that's particularly worried about being fair or nice. So things, the Duthcloyne district here is where a lot of the more nobles live and whatnot, whereas the previous one, the Brayron district, is the area for a lot of the dispossessed and less wealthy folks, people who have lost their houses, etc. It's where Jaraxel recruits a lot of people for Breaking to Earth.
Alrighty. Well, we need to go and rally some disgruntled commoners and defeat some lizard patrols. So that, I guess that takes us back down this way.
So I'll head back south to the Brayron district.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are actually many districts within Menzoberranzan, and we had to try to just pick a couple we could do. We couldn't represent every district. It's a fairly large city with a lot of unique locations.
Now, the background obviously is being dominated by the caverns and Narbondel in the distance. Does that background ever change dynamically when Narbondel is being relit, or
we haven't done the time of day stuff, but I don't want to spoil too many things and some of the stuff that we might be working on for future things.
Sure.
Currently it's just static.
So that wasn't a no.
We wanted no. In any case, I don't want to spoil too much, but right now it's just static. The lighting and passing in Narbondel was something we discussed a lot, but it was a substantial effort to get it done with our technical engine.
Sure.
We've done some small night and day stuff, but it involves relatively subtle changes. What we call our Skyflex technology. We did that in Barovia. There's a night-day cycle in Barovia, but it doesn't quite do it as dynamically as people would expect out of Narbondel.
So I'm looking for disgruntled commoners right now around here, and also some lizard patrols.
Yeah, the lizard patrols are pretty easy spots. You'll see 2 guys running around on riding lizards, which are actually something that I think that Artis Salvatore invented. There's some of the mounts of the various drow.
And you can ride a riding lizard in our game too.
Oh,
one of the mounts that you now can get access to is in our most recent releases. the ebony riding lizards that a lot of patrols will ride around. But hey, it makes sense for a cavern environment. You know, you want basically giant geckos. They
Yeah, for sure.
move around a lot more readily than something like a horse can in an underground environment.
Okay, I see no lizards over here.
Yes, they're often targets for various players to hunt. So
Here's a riding lizard patrol right here.
nope, one back there and towards Misa. They make their way generally around
There they are.
the outskirts of the districts. There we go.
Wait, did he just fall off his mount? Or...
Yeah,
Yes.
you can knock them off the mount. We have some mount tech that we get to use, and so we just have to leverage two of the riding lizards.
That's cool. I think that's like the first time in an MMO I've knocked someone off their mount, and it wasn't another player.
We have it. We have it pretty. We have it in some other earlier parts of the game, I think. But yeah, it was a nice little fun addition for us to make sure. Oh, hey, we have this lizard. Why don't we make it so you can get knocked off and fight him?
That's cool. It just adds a bit more, I guess, realism to the combat. Obviously, I mean, we're having to suspend disbelief here. We're floating. At least I'm floating around on a disc in a city that's underground. But those little
It's
touches
just
just
Tensor's disc,
add
you know?
so much.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a perfectly normal spell. I don't understand the confusion.
See, I use that disc because my character's a drow and he's got a body, and I like the idea of having to summon somebody to then summon my mount.
That's hilarious. That is a perfectly acceptable reason for that.
Also, it kind of reminds me of there's a magic card called Neverwinter's disc or something like that. And it
Nevin
reminds
Roll's
me-
disc.
yeah,
Larry
it
Niven
reminds me of
spelled
the art.
backwards.
Yeah.
My God.
It's a well-known thing.
It
The
reminds me of that card.
early people who worked on Magic were fans of Larry Niven's various published books, so they incorporated it into it. It's a disc that destroys everything.
Yep.
It's a very good artifact in the early days of Magic for a lot of decks.
It's great in Commander too.
Still popular then. I've played as much hands-on Magic in a bit. We've worked on Magic Legends at Cookie Studios, but
Why you gotta
I know.
remind me of this pain?
making a lot of new
Comes up every
spells and
once in a
things.
while on our forums. People talk about it still pretty fondly.
Yeah, we
Magic
should have done
Legends?
better, but
Yeah,
projects moving on.
I
We got some new projects boiling. We're not prepared to talk about them, but new things afoot for our fans.
yeah, Magic. I've worked on multiple Magic projects actually in my career, so it's kind of like I got a soft spot for it.
Sure.
And so I was definitely bummed about that one not succeeding. So
Manjushri in the chat referring to the disc as the reset button, which is totally
Oh, yeah.
true.
I played it early days of Magic in my black discard decks because Pure Black had no way of dealing with things like enchantments and a few other problems. So
Yeah.
your options were limited if you needed to reset the board.
Oh crap! Trider.
Oh yeah, that's one of the house captains.
oh crap, run!
I'm going to go this way.
Generally, kind of keep away from them. You can slip past them if you need to. They are deadly.
All right,
but,
so I think
not
here's
too
what we
hard to
do.
level high.
We'll send Brett in as a decoy, and we will escape.
Yes, I like this idea.
That's fine. Just go
Yeah,
past.
frickin' goose.
We'll distract him with my goose mount. And
Peace
throwing
was
his
never
BB
an
cannon.
option.
I got him. All right, run.
I was kidding.
No, just run.
Just gonna go this way.
Abscond.
I'm gonna bring him over
Abscond.
here. Oh no! Don't. Why did you guys hit him?
Behind?
I got knocked off my mount.
Oh,
It's fine. I'll be fine.
he's targeting me. It's fine. He's on me now. He's coming back.
I'm a warlock. I can
Yeah,
just
well,
infinitely sprint, right?
It's not exactly how it works, but sure. For the fans out there, there is no such thing as infinite speed. That was a made-up thing.
It was a joke. it
But
was a joke.
warlocks can do what's called a shadow slip, and it lets them get out of trouble for short periods.
Warlock has one of those fun ones where you basically get to pick which direction you dodge.
Yeah, most of our, for people not familiar with Neverwinter, all of our classes generally have some form of defensive mechanic. Some can use a recharging stamina meter to block incoming attacks. Others can do dodge and rolls, and some of them, like the Warlock, can sort of sprint quickly for a few seconds to get out of danger. Neverwinter is, compared to a lot of MMOs, Neverwinter has a more sort of action combat system. There's a bit more counterplay. None of the classes can interrupt their attacks with other powers and whatnot, so there's a bit more hands-on. It's not sort of your traditional just like press button, wait 2 seconds. There's a lot of different actions you can take, and a lot of our boss fights and other things are built around needing to use your defensive powers to either soak damage or just evade it completely.
Yeah, it seems like crap, the Rider's back.
Run.
It seems like the action combat has kind of taken over the genre since about 2012, 2013. It was obviously there before with some older games, but you don't see too many new MMOs launching with tab targeting as kind of the main combat. And I might get in trouble for saying this, but personally I prefer it that way because it just feels so much more hands-on. Like I love a good tab targeting MMO. I play Final Fantasy 14 all the time. My favorite MMO out there is Lord of the Rings Online. These older games, but it just feels weird when playing something like a newer tab targeting MMO, and it just feels slow by comparison to something like this.
Yeah, I agree. I also feel like when I play a new tab target MMO, whenever someone's like announcing like, oh, we're gonna if someone were to announce they're gonna do a tab target MMO right now, I'd be like, but what are you going to do with yours that's not already been done by all the other tab target MMO? Like tab target MMO has been like the standard, right?
Yeah,
for
sure.
a really long time, like dating back to forever ago, like the time like EverQuest 1 and stuff like that. So
times change, control schemes changes, just the way kind of things go, and I think kind of the shift away from the tap target style is sort of a bit of a natural evolution. I'm not to say that I think that we've nailed it, or that the system that Neverwinter or any cryptic games uses the be-all end-all, but I think that there's sort of a progression towards the way the control is. And I think in some cases it helps to force a little bit of streamlining of the combat. Some MMOs take advantage of the fact that they're played with a keyboard and expect you to have 40 different keybinds. And as a game designer, I don't think that's actually like the correct way to build a control scheme. Flexibility and customization is good, but sort of expecting players to memorize and be capable of actively using more than a 10 or so actions at a time is really tough.
I remember
it's hard for a lot of newer players.
Some of my hotbars in older MMOs that when I was playing them were just kind of crazy. Like you looked at it and you're like, you had 30 plus keys that you're pressing.
Yeah.
Still do. Like even games like Final Fantasy 14. I mean, I got 5 skill bars deep on some skills, just because that's the way.
Yeah, it really depends on the class
is.
in that one, but like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
My hunter in Lord of the Rings Online uses 4, skill bars, and I use skills on every single one as part of the rotation. So, yeah, it's definitely something that I think a lot of newer players too it's foreign to them because games that they've grown up on, were playable both on console. So you have controllers, but also just it's. I don't know. I think you can get as much complexity without needing to just pile on skill after skill after skill.
It's about the sort of the complexity of the mechanics, the skills that you have, the powers that you use, making sure that those are interesting and fun. And older most of the times it was just like volume and very subtle differences. Like, cool, here's heal power 1 and here's heal power 2, which basically does the same thing but costs slightly more mana.
It has a slightly different
harder
cooldown, and you can use them. Yeah.
They weren't fundamentally different powers. Both of them were like healing a single character in your party. They just had different costs, and I appreciate the subtleness of that and the distinction. But it also doesn't really you don't interact with them that much differently.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember, but I used to I played WoW for many years, and that I built charts mapping out the healing efficiency of different spells based on their ranks, their cost, and the amount they actually healed and whatnot. And I'm like, I like doing that. I'm a video game dev, and I love, I love spreadsheets, but I don't think that's how most people want to play games.
I love spreadsheets. That's why I play EVE Online.
There we go. Yeah. Also known as Excel in space.
I love spreadsheets. That's why I'm a game designer.
Yeah.
Well, that game is even more known as spreadsheets in space now that they've added in Excel plugins and everything. So.
Oh.
It's great. Speaking of games, though, you guys can, for those of you joining the chat now, joining us late here, we are running a sweepstakes on our website with cosmetic codes that we're giving away right now. So you can head over to mmorpg.com and enter into that with your account. We have one for PC, one for Xbox, one for PlayStation, and it gives you a fancy little cloak that is unique to, you're going to need a key to get it, so there's no other way to really get it in the game right now. So yeah, that'll be running for the next hour or so you have some time to enter in, and once the sweepstakes over, it'll send you the code right to the email that's associated with your Forums account. While you're there, click on some articles, click on some links. We'd appreciate it. You can check out the news from Neverwinter this morning, actually. A patch was released this morning, if I remember correctly.
Yep, we put out our patch. It's we had a very, very small one last week, but this is sort of our first big patch following Menzoberranzan's release. And we targeted a number of issues that people spotted, a few balance changes here and there, a few quality of life improvements and whatnot. So that patch is live as of earlier today. So if you want to jump in and play, come check it out.
Awesome. Well, I think I've done what we needed to do here. So I'm heading back to the little hub, it looks like.
And take this opportunity to pitch that Neverwinter is currently running a lot of promotions. We're doing a sort of launch promotion for our in-game currency, which you can buy for real-world money called Zen. And so there's a sale on as promotional on that. You get bonus Zen. And we're also running a big sale on our in-game store. So if you're ever interested in playing Neverwinter and want to buy something, we're doing a 20% off literally everything that Neverwinter sells right now for roughly the next week or so.
Nice.
So great time to jump in if you haven't played for a bit, or if you just want to get started and get new. And if you're curious about,
I think that sale ended, Fred. I think it's a VIP sale now. I think it's the all sale. The all sale ended.
Oh, you're right. The all sale has ended.
Yeah, it's VIP now.
So what we do have is VIP. The good news is, I was going to say, is that VIP is probably one of the best things you can buy. It's sort of our light subscription service. It gives you a lot of great convenience stuff. And I would say if you're curious about playing Neverwinter, if you're thinking like, well, it's a free-to-play game, what would be the first thing you buy? I always recommend VIP. It's just you buy it in like 1 month increments, so you don't have to there's no subscription, you don't have to worry about reoccurring costs, and it gives you a lot of great benefits. So it's probably one of the best things you can do. Other than that, if you want to check out some of the bags, inventory space is always great, and we give you a pretty generous amount of new characters. But if you are a hoarder like I am and have filled literally every slot on your live character, you're going to eat all the bags you can.
So I need to speak to Alejandra, and it says it's here in the Braylon district, but I'm gonna say name.
No, Alejandra
she's back in the Whispering Post.
Yeah, I think she was in the post.
I know exactly where she is because I'm looking at her.
That was a fast load time. Yeah, to just kind of speak to, not to sell the product because that's kind of not what I'm here for, but to kind of speak to the convenience. I was literally on the verge of buying VIP before the stream started, just for that convenience of fast traveling, because I couldn't quite figure out where I needed to go to get to where you guys were. So, I mean, that right there pretty much already sold me on VIP.
It was one of the things that I first started playing Neverwinter. I wanted to play it for a good portion of time, completely free to play, not using any money, just to see how viable it was. And after playing it for a while and then trying out VIP, it's hard for me to go back. I'm like, this is just, it's great convenience, and there's a lot of cool stuff that comes with being a VIP, and I've stuck with it since. So it's, again, the thing I recommend most if people say like, hey, I want to play, but if I was going to spend money, what should I spend it on? Like, just VIP, first thing you should do. And then if you want to spend more money after that, great. But we're honestly just completely happy if people just get VIP.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we have to save some harassed commoners. So I don't know why I didn't talk to Alejandra before we came here the first time, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. For those listening in, we're kind of laying the groundwork to win over some of the people of Menzoberranzan and try to get them to sort of side with. There's basically a faction of blaspheme traitors that are looking to usurp some of the power in Menzoberranzan, and you're kind of trying to actually earn their goodwill, which is an unusual thing for Menzoberranzan. It's not a city particularly well known for charity.
I lost where you went, and now I need to find you.
We are here in the middle of the Braylon district.
I was just running away from a heroic.
Look for the gigantic orange disc.
Yeah. the reset button. I think that's what I'm going to refer to this now every single time. Okay. So
Yeah, I love the incorporation. Personally, for me, like just the fact that Tensor's disc is something in the game too that you can use out. And recently we added Bigby's hand as well. Also shows up actually in the movie, which is pretty cool. That was unintentional but cool tie-in. And you can ride around in Bigby's hand as a mount as well.
have you guys noticed any uptick in player count numbers or anything like that since the movie came out?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's just say that the timed release of Menzoberranzan was chosen specifically because we knew that the movie would be coming out, and they were also doing another thing called D&D Direct, which happened, I believe, the same week that we launched Menzoberranzan, and the week that the D&D movie came out. So there's this big intended effect by all of our various marketing teams to sort of make a huge push on things D&D. For that week, and it definitely seems to have paid off. We had a lot of people come in and play Menzoberranzan, so it's been good for us.
Yeah, it felt very targeted, the timing, but I was just wondering, I know with other MMOs, when games like Lord of the Rings Online got a huge influx of players from Rings of Power and stuff. So.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much any time a licensed product has like a game that has a licensed IP, and a new thing comes out for that IP, almost always impacts the game in a positive manner.
Neverwinter is, Cryptic also runs, but apart from Neverwinter, Star Trek Online, and we're quite aware of seeing the benefits of a movie, or in most cases television shows and whatnot, for Star Trek, and the impact that has on their player base. When there's a successful show and episodes are coming out, you always see an uptick. D&D is a bit rare because they don't have regular shows that come out for it, so the movie was a big, important main event, and it definitely has shown in our player numbers that both the launch of Menzoberranzan as well as the new D&D movie have kind of increased our player base by a good bit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool seeing ships and stuff from the game show up in shows like Picard.
Oh yeah. That's something they've been working on for a long time. I'm so happy for them.
Yeah.
They've been, especially the fans and the people who work on the ships for Star Trek Online. Many of them have worked on that game for years. They know every ship in the entire Star Trek library, and they built a lot of the ships for Star Trek specifically to try to fit into the universe. And having the people who make Star Trek shows realize that, these guys have done a fantastic job on the ships, both original and updates and ones that they built, and just leveraging them for the TV shows is fantastic because they were absolutely built with that in mind. They were built to be this is something that should fit into a Star Trek TV show, and then the showrunners finally saw that and said, yeah, they do. Just use them.
So I'm assuming this Drider here isn't one of the big bad Driders we have to worry about.
Oh no. There are other Driders, but this is not one of the house captains. Just a sort of lesser Drider. Still pretty tough though. They are quite chunky.
These are the fuel of my nightmares here.
Driders are horrifying. The concept of them being sort of this punishment form thing that Drow are thrown into when they fail the goddess Loth is also pretty terrifying.
The whole concept of Driders is terrifying. I am arachnophobic.
And for those of you curious that want to kind of know a bit about it, that's sort of a part of the key storyline that has developed across North Dark Reaches and into Menzoberranzan, as well as explored in R.A. Salvatore's new books, is that some people basically figured out that the transformation into a Drider is not a permanent thing. There's actually ways that you can disrupt it and reverse it, and they have been reversing the transformation of a number of Driders. And let's just say people who've spent time as a Drider are not very happy with the people who turn them into Driders.
Yeah, I can't imagine I would be too.
Yeah. And a number of the characters featured here in the Menzoberranzan campaign are former Driders, and most of them choose not to talk about their experience as Drider. It's pretty bad.
Now, this takes place in between two of the current books that Salvatore has, I think, already finished, right? They're already out?
Yeah, and there will be a third book coming out shortly, and Menzoberranzan is set directly between the second and third book.
Nice.
And it was kind of cool because, surprisingly, R.A. Salvatore was literally writing the third book while we were working on this, and so, like I said, that's how we managed to get some of our ideas incorporated into the third book. We have a narrative team that spent a lot of time brainstorming, hey, what can we do, and how would things play out, and whatnot. R.A. Salvatore had picked the sort of major plot beats that he knew was going to hit in the third book, but hadn't necessarily figured out how to get there yet. and conversing with the writers and the things that we needed to do for Menzoberranzan, we actually stumbled across a lot of ideas. I was like, that's great. I'm just going to use that for the book too.
Yeah, it was incredibly fun to like.
I'm going to avoid spoilers if
listen
be
into
ambiguous, but it's cool.
It was a lot of fun to listen to his process and how, because of what his process was, that we could collaborate so well and integrate integrate our Faerun, our Underdark, our Menzoberranzan into their stories. So it was super fun.
Keep finding these packets of drow, thinking that that's where one of the commoners are, and then it turns out it's not. They're just there to fool me.
Well, there are some. Like I've got a quest here.
Well, we have a quest for supply
Blasphemy
caches.
Warrior, so I'm doing the Blasphemy Warrior one right now. So
Okay.
I'm getting my quest done.
Multitasking.
If you're on the quest, I think one of the people that you need to talk with though are up by the guardhouses, so we'll need to go up by the guardhouses to find them. If you want to take a moment, we can try to find some people that want to tackle one of the house striders. Sometimes if you start fighting a house strider, you can kind of lure other people in the zone into helping you out.
I think it would be hilarious.
We really want to suffer again, Brett.
I haven't
Do
suffered.
we want to do this to ourselves?
Well, we need to get people. Sadly, the Drider that patrols closest to the Whispering Post is already dead. I guess
Drider right here. Watch
jumped
out.
on it. Yeah, that is. He's a little out of the way though, so it might be trickier to get people to help us out. There's one Drider that patrols relatively close to the Whispering Post, and because of that alone, you're often capable of getting people to help you fight him. So they'll run across the sea, battle him, and they'll help out. We can try this one. He's kind of by one of the entrances. All right, just watch out. You've got a lot of powerful.
Brett just wants us to die.
Yeah, just try to stay out of range of his very powerful attacks.
I'm watching his health bar and I'm doing nothing to it.
Yeah, he's very strong.
Oh, hey.
We're gonna...
Some pixels moved. Oh,
Yeah, the web. Can be painful. You don't have healing potions. Since we don't have a healer in our group, I would say you're probably going to need them.
Just waiting on a cooldown. There we go.
Got me with one of the big hits. That hurts. Even on a tank, that's a strong attack. No. Down. Rain.
So far, I have managed to not die.
Doing good too. I'll try to get you up.
But I'm also too far from it to be able to attack it.
Oof. I'm nearly dead. I'm at like 1 health. Oh, daily power came up. Got it. It's still alive. Dodge. God, I managed to dodge it. And one of the freaking lizard riders showed up too. Party's here. Come on, mount power. Artifacts up there. That helps.
I did not want to dodge. I don't know why it just made me dodge, but I dodged into the...
Did you double tap? By default, the double tap
Yeah, I must have.
This has double tap dodges on. You can disable that if you just want it to be manual. Oh, and I backed into a pack of drow.
Yeah, I must have that enabled. Hey.
Yeah, I prefer to play with that off too, just because I like a bit more picky about it, and I mash a lot. I guess it's a nice way of saying like I'm a bad masher sometimes, and my matchiness has gotten me in trouble. Although oddly enough, when I used to play Unreal Tournament and that had double tap dodge, I'm perfectly fine with it there. But
I loved it there.
I'm not skilled enough to use it anymore.
Oh god, I'm dead. Oh, I survived.
We're actually doing surprisingly well. Please, last time I attempted this with group people before the patch, and it did not turn out so well. So the balance passes changes we made are good. It's still not easy, but it's not soul crushing.
Don't stand on that web; it will kill you, and stay out of the red zone on the floor.
Yeah.
It's just...
I'm a tank, so I can soak up a lot more of the damage. It's survivable by tanks, but it's still pretty challenging. If we had a healer, they could deal with it, but without a healer, unfortunately, you guys are gonna have to dodge a lot.
So by the time the web hits and I'm trying to get out of it, I have just enough health to get killed.
Oh no.
I have been defeated.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's one of the things I actually really like about Neverwinter is the sort of revive system, but there is a 5 cap on revives. After that, you got to go back to the campfire.
Well, if I release, can I come back?
Yes.
Yes.
We're still fighting
That
it.
is
So
what's
as long as, you know, in the adventure zones, they're pretty forgiving. As long as there's at least one person still alive, you can keep going. In the bosses, if everybody dies out, you have to start the whole thing over. You can kind of graveyard rush these driders a little bit. Probably why the ones that are near the campfire are died first. But in dungeons against bosses, if the whole team dies at once, then you're out. And again, if you die, if you're down, I should say, if you're down 5 times, you're defeated after that. So
I'm going to stay out of the web before I come back.
the really challenging parts in there were things like we have some challenges there where you have to do like an entire dungeon with no downs, not no revives, so basically no revives. If anybody downs at all, it's a failure.
It's over.
Those are extremely challenging. You got to really know the mechanics and kind of play it safe. I definitely like against the Driders. I actually use a couple of mobility powers on my tanks because you need to move around in some cases, and they help in case they knock you back and you need to avoid just. I'll call it Rain of Stars. I don't know if that's exactly the name, but.
Jeez. 152,000 health points.
Yeah, they hit hard. You got the webbing down again. No, well, there's another tank in here.
Coming.
Yeah. So as I said, if you start attacking them, and as people run by, they're like, "Oh, hey, they're fighting the Driders. Let's help out." You can get people to help you. Oh, actually, it looks like maybe they killed another one somewhere because there were 4 alive. Now there's only 3. There's a little segmented bar showing the number of Drider captains that are still alive during the lockdown, and it's down to 3. So
Oh, nice.
people took out another one somewhere. And now we're gonna put another one wrong.
Oh. Trying to get dodge out of that.
Oh, I'm toast.
For those of you keeping track at home, I have died 0 times, and still going strong. That being said, I'm playing a tank with a huge amount of health.
I am just picturing you sitting at your desk with a big smug face right now.
Oh, very. You can check my camera on the feed if you want. I'm being super smug about it.
Just Jeremy Clarkson smug face.
I've actually tanked a good bit of Neverwinter though. I've played a tank and done some of the harder trial bosses and whatnot too, so I'm kind of used to some of the more challenging aspects of Neverwinter. And some of them are not easy. I've done.
Brett is one of our hardcore players.
Prior to playing Neverwinter, I played older MMOs and whatnot. I was into WoW for many years, and I did a lot of the really hard bosses in WoW too. And some of Neverwinter's trial bosses are legit as tough, if not harder, than some of the old raid bosses we used to do.
So we're being told in the chat to tell the tank to pull the Drider out of the web.
Good point. I would do that,
Holy
but
crap.
it's hard. There's also the problem is there's another tank here now, and unfortunately the other tank keeps stealing aggro from me. And he keeps taunting him, and I can't.
You know how Brett is shirking that responsibility onto the rando instead of taking responsibility for his own actions?
Taunts are in the game for a reason, and unfortunately people control you with them. Like this guy has been doing. So look, I've got aggro, I'm trying to pull him out, but unfortunately he's doing another ability, and the guy taunted him back. Alright then. Will not be leaving the
We
west.
almost got him down, so.
Yeah, we're about to get him here.
We're gonna win!
Most.
We did that.
There we go.
Guys.
Got him.
And we got Battle Pass experience. Woo!
Yes, recent addition to Neverwinter is that we added a sort of battle pass system. It just involves coming in and doing a couple of different daily activities. One of them is actually slaying Drider captains right now. And you just make progress towards the battle pass, and there's a series of free rewards as well as premium rewards. But even if you don't want to use the premium rewards, the free rewards are great, and basically just by playing Neverwinter, you'll get access to them.
It's one of
That's
those
kind of how we also incentivize people to go fight the House Strider captains even more. It's like, cool,
Sure.
and you want to do them so you get free Battle Pass XP.
Is it one of those battle passes? Because one thing I think myself and a lot of gamers at this point hate about battle passes is you have to kind of go out of your way to do them, or it dictates what you're going to do in addition to what you had already planned on doing when you jumped into the game. Is the battle pass here kind of set up to where it is something that you can just naturally do while you play, or
it's very, very close. We picked activities. There's one activity that might be slightly out of the way usually per battle pass, and in this case it's actually taking down the Drider captains, but there's a lot of reason to kill the Drider captains because they give you another currency that you need for the Menzoberranzan campaign. But the rest of the activities are generally doing things we call our random queues, which are the main source of astral diamonds, and astral diamonds are what you use for a lot of stuff in Neverwinter. It's for upgrading mounts, upgrading companions, buying things on the auction house. So we basically just asking you to do the thing you're probably doing already.
Sure.
It's mainly to incentivize people, or to help direct players to where they should be going to get their high value rewards, and also keep players coming back and give you a reason to come back every day, right?
Right.
Yeah. Doing random dungeons is a great way to earn astral diamonds, and as a result, we try to encourage people to do that. There's another Drider captain over here. Where you go though? Oh, taking off down the side.
I am currently looking for one.
Yeah, we got distracted looking at the Driders and chatting, and realized you'd taken off.
It's all right. I have the reset button. We're good. All right, I found one.
Yeah. I also, one of the guys back there had the personal beholder tank.
I saw that one
mount,
too,
and I had to check it out. It's one of the coolest mounts in the game.
I'm actually in the process of writing a campaign that has a beholder at the center of it, and so seeing
cool.
that was
The boss of our
inspiration.
newest trial release with Menzoberranzan is the beholder deity Gizmenid.
So yeah, for those of you who are still here or joining us towards the end of the stream, we are giving away some cosmetics, and cosmetic, I guess, on the website on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. All you have to do is go and sign up on one of the three articles that should be right there on the front page of the website, mmorpg.com, and by about 5 o'clock Pacific time, that should be over. It's pretty much as a sweepstakes for those of you out here who joined us on the stream to jump into. And once that is done, we'll run the sweepstakes on our end, and you should get an email with a nice fancy code and how to redeem it within a few minutes. So I'm actually...
Did you complete your...
Oops. Yeah, I completed the quest. I'm heading back to the Whispering Post.
Perfect.
Well met, soldier.
Yay,
It seems
compassion
I
and
was wrong
cause.
to ignore Alejandro's ideas. Your work with her has
Oh, while you're here, if you have not, you can set your teleport location to the Whispering Post, so you can come back a little easier.
Nice.
There's a little green rock here, kind of by the entrance. Standing on it and jumping around, be a distraction, but it's just behind you. You can set your teleport locations in the Whispering Post.
It seems weird to have a drow admit they were wrong.
That's kind of the whole crux a bit of sort of like both the recent modules we've been doing, as well as what R.A. Salvatore is exploring with some of his novels. It's sort of understanding that Menzoberranzan's a place filled with a lot of wicked people, but not everybody in Menzoberranzan is wicked, and some of the people, especially some of the former Driders and whatnot, are starting to realize that it doesn't have to be such a wicked place.
Sure.
It's sort of by letting the evil people do what they want that Menzoberranzan has become what it is, and that in some cases the drow culture as a whole has become as warped as it is.
Well, I've got 2 more quests, but I know we're running up on an hour streaming here. So I think killing that Drider was a kind of climactic way to go out.
All right.
So thank
Go
you
out
so
with a
much.
bang, right?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate doing these. So hopefully, the next module update, we can kind of jump back in and check it out more. If you guys haven't tried out Neverwinter, it's free to play, over on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. It's definitely worth checking out, especially if you are a fan of D&D or just kind of getting into it because of it hitting more of the cultural zeitgeist the last couple of years and the last few months, specifically with the movie. I really appreciate you guys taking the time and putting up with my poor rogue play.
We really enjoy playing
Really,
with
we did
you,
fine.
and it's totally fun streaming with you. So I don't have no problem. I didn't notice any Poor rogue play. I only noticed poor tank play by not moving a Strider
Oh,
Captain
wow.
out of the way. What?
What?
All I have to say is I flawlessly took down that Drider Captain. I didn't die, and yet
That's
somehow the
Somehow you're
DPS
getting blamed.
players that didn't have to worry about the boss wailing on them still managed to get themselves killed.
I mean,
Yeah, we did. We still died.
I was getting hit for like over 300,000 points of health.
Oh, yeah,
was-
no,
I was
it
getting
can hit
wailed
pretty
on
hard.
just fine. Thanks. So yeah, we still have about 20 more minutes left on that sweepstakes on the site. So if you haven't gone yet, go sign up and pretty much secure your code. We got 200 PC codes, 150 Xbox, and 150 PlayStation. And this is the only way you can get this cloak in game is through a key like this. So I guess show off to your friends. Until next time, thank you so much, guys, and we will catch you on the next stream.
Have a good one. Thanks for having us.
Yep, thank you, Bert. And check out Neverwinter. We'd love to have you come in and play.